Hello everyone, welcome to theCUBE, back here at the NYSE. I'm John Furrier, your host of theCUBE. We're here all week. Dave Vellante was here. He went back to Boston, had to take care of some business there. I'm breaking it down. Trump was here today, kicking off the opening bell, kind of kept our schedule back, but we're back and we're going to keep all day, 12 straight more interviews all day back to back. Mark Heaps is here from Groq, the Chief Technology Evangelist. Jonathan Ross is on theCUBE, SC23. You guys have been on a rocket ship growth since. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for coming in. Not bad scene here.
My first time here, it's really impressive. A little overwhelming.
Well, today was kind of a pretty busy day because of Donald Trump coming in. But,
yeah, right.
But in general, the New York Stock Exchange is where the center of capitalism is. You guys are on a rocket ship, and just the overall Gen AI inference game.
Yes.
You guys were really early, if not first, to really come out and declare inference is the killer app. In fact, I think it was on theCUBE, we talked about that 2 years ago. Now everyone's talking about inference. Okay, training, yes, check. There'll be reinforced learning. I got that. Still a lot of people doing the training. But as more data comes in, it's going to be reinforced. The inference kicks in. It's going to be integrated. You guys have been kind of winning the game on benchmarking, speed, doing a lot. Give us the update on Groq, because again, it's been a while since you've been on theCUBE, about a year and a half.
Yeah.
What, about a year? I think it's been a year. Yeah, about a year. Give us the update. I know you got a lot of racks on social media.
Yes.
The big irons moving out the door, the big clustered systems. Give us the update on Groq.
Well, I think it's been a really exciting year. You know, we always knew that we had something special as far as the chip, the LPU itself as a technology. But as you said, we spent a lot of time trying to educate the world that inference was going to become a new market category for technology. We were looking at the numbers yesterday. Actually, in February, we had 60 people that had signed up for inference on the LPU via a cloud service. As of yesterday, we had 650,000.
Okay, explain LPU for the folks who don't know what that means.
Yeah, sure. So most people are familiar with a CPU in a computer. You've got a GPU that also gets used. LPU stands for Language Processing Unit, and it was a chip that was originally created by the team with our CEO, Jonathan Ross, as you mentioned. And what it specializes in is inference for AI applications. So there's two categories in this space. You usually have training for machine learning, and then you also have inference, which is when someone's actually deployed a model and they're really using it in production and running their business on it. And so Jonathan had this vision 8 years ago to say, I think there's going to be a next level of compute that will put a demand that could not be delivered at that time. Because of that, now AI applications are getting so much more complex. People are looking for novel solutions, and we were in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of dialogue around NVIDIA's moat, and you're starting to see that you don't actually need GPUs all the time, and that it's the combination of the right chips and system elements. Explain this this important dynamic, because I think this is going to be the key to the system architecture for these new clustered systems, whether it's powered in the cloud with some application or on-prem, which we see connected to the cloud as one scenario for sure, but the growth of on-premise activity is all-time high, because, hey, if I'm JP Morgan Chase, I'm going to, although I was on stage at Amazon reInvent, I'm certainly got a lot of stuff on-prem, regulated industry, and they got a $17 billion annual IT budget. So I'm sure they're going to be a customer, or if not already a customer.
Yeah, I think, there's a really great ramp to deployment optionality right now. I mean, obviously GPUs are great and they've been the industry standard, but you're seeing a lot of folks look at novel chip architectures like Groq to say, hey, we have a small business startup that might just need cloud access with a simple API key for their application, all the way up to those people that have to deal with regulations where they need on-prem solutions. And then there's everything in between that's somewhat hybridized, whether they want to have a dedicated provision access to Groq systems, or if they say, hey, we want to put something on site in a data center, but you manage it, you can cover that entire spectrum today.
What is the use cases that you guys have? I know, again, I love that image on social media. The big boxes moving. It's like moving off the docks, so to speak.
Yeah.
You guys are shipping a lot of gear.
Yes.
A lot of systems. Yes. What's the customer profile? What's the use cases? What are you seeing the market that's leveraging the Groq technology?
Well, ultimately, the advantage of people that are building applications with Groq are folks that want ultra low latency. So, now you're starting to talk about this movement towards control of systems with conversational AI, something that's real time. Obviously, stock trading, streaming data is going to be key to things like that. You were just showing me one of your latest tools with transcription from video. All of that is going to be happening in real time today, whether you're talking about autonomous vehicles down to the mobile app that you have. So this is where Groq is advantaged in that ultra low latency. But if you're going to have that sort of speed, it also has to be affordable, and we have an advantage there as well.
Yeah, what are the latest speeds and feeds? Because I know a lot of people, there's no yet standards and benchmarks. So trying to get experts like yourself to kind of lay out how customers should look at performance.
Right.
Because it's not like the old school days of TPC benchmarks back in the day.
Definitely not.
Because the apps they're almost custom systems. In fact, custom systems every time.
Yes.
There's no one vanilla benchmark.
No.
How should people think about benchmarks? As obviously power is important.
Yes.
Token, context window, token speeds. Where's the inference benchmark laying out now in terms of what's settling in for at least de facto?
Yeah, normalizing right now, I think most people in the industry have moved away from the standard benchmarks, especially for this space. Really, the first one that, if you're not familiar with the space, you should be familiar with tokens per second.
Yeah.
And then the second after that is maybe time to first token. These are areas where Groq really helped define that new benchmark and set that standard. Other players are coming along to that sort of standard today. But ultimately, you want to be able to see what is the performance speed as your applications get more complex. And every time you introduce a new layer to your application, you're introducing latency. So the speed at which you can generate tokens across the end-to-end application really matter for the experience your customers are going to have.
Can you talk about the aspect of scale? Because I talked to a lot of folks that have I won't say kicking the tires.
Sure.
That's an old term. That's an old school term. But they're playing around. They're really evaluating. They're putting some evaluations, doing some workload testing. But there's some use cases that you can put together pretty quickly. RAG's one of them. We see that all the time.
Sure.
But then, and things of that nature. It could be computer vision and other things. But then you hit a scale point where things change, and then the dynamics of the benchmark change. You mentioned application latency as you add more applications. Yeah. This brings up where do you start to think about where the benchmarks matter, right? And where does it change? So does the scale of my app, does the scale of my infrastructure change the requirements for those needs on a price performance? Or how would you, I don't know how I ask the question, but I guess what I ask is that when scale hits, what's different that might be missed if you're looking at a benchmark or evaluation of what looks like a steady state, but it's really not scaled yet?
Actually, you've hit the nail on the head of why there is a change in benchmarking. You know, traditionally, when you were benchmarking in the semiconductor industry, you were looking at a single chip instance and what were the speed and feeds on that singular chip. But when you look at someone like Jonathan, our CEO, who comes from a background of building massive distributed systems at Google with their chip, he understood that performance and efficiency changes at scale. Whether you're talking about the volume of users or the power draw that you have at scale, that's obviously on everybody's mind right now of how sustainable is this with this demand for compute. So the LPU system was actually designed to be utilized at scale. In fact, we tell people, if you want 1 or 2 chips from us, you shouldn't buy from us. You're going to go with a standard in the industry, an incumbent. But when you start talking about serving tens of millions of users and not needing to create lots of microsystems to serve that volume, you're going to want to be on a chip that was designed to handle that scale.
So when you talk about deployment optionality, I like that phrase you mentioned before. You guys are hitting that use case on the large scale, so
Absolutely.
See the systems, not a onesie, twosie deal. What about enterprises that might be diverse in or have different optionality on their architecture? Could be maybe distributed. Does Groq have a play there? Is it just large scale? Is there a version where I can come in and then scale up and add more Groq machines? Take me through, because I might say, hey, I got this workload here. I might not need the full system. What do you guys say to that?
I think this is why we're seeing so many people actually start looking more towards cloud access and having their own API. I mean, you could start today with Groq completely for free, get an API key. And like I said, of the 650,000 developers, so many of them are startups that are just building apps and trying it, right? But now as they start reaching out to us saying, hey, I've hit my rate limit, I've hit my ceiling. Well, there's another tier level. Eventually, you're going to get to a tier level where you say, well, maybe I should provision a dedicated system. Maybe we should actually put something on-prem. Our biggest customer that's over in Saudi Arabia right now, and we've had lots of press announcements about that, we're shipping racks, we're doing all this work over there because they intend to deploy for these large enterprise services in the region.
So the business model is come in with the SaaS, play with the rate limits, and use pay-as-you-go.
Yep.
Or large scale, we'll send you systems.
Correct. That's exactly right. Okay. So this is why we tell people when they say, well, are you this company or are you this company? And I just say, yes.
Okay, so when you said to me, we could use Groq, you didn't mean get a system. You meant use your cloud.
Yeah, use the cloud and go from there, right? And we've got some really great announcements that are going to be coming in first quarter next year of some of these larger enterprises and what they're building on us. And we're very lucky as well to be partnering with Meta and the open source community with the models that finally the enterprise are actually finding some real value in.
you know, I've been saying for a couple of years, obviously, about clustered systems. This year, I've been shouting top of my CUBE lungs, I could say, is that the open source growth has just been so phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
And you've been seeing the developer frenzy. It's a bit of frenzy. I mean, and then you see the rapid pace of performance, price performance on tokens, token size windows, context windows, price per token. Your systems are getting faster. So we're getting to this crescendo where it's the tipping point is coming.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And once those developers are unleashed, that I think there's gonna be a Cambrian explosion of just action. So take me through how you see that happening, because you guys are in the middle of it. What's the developer appetite for Groq? What are some of the cool things you're seeing that could support connecting that dot? Because that to me is, they're just holding back. I mean, they're definitely working. I see work for sure, but it's gonna be unleashed.
Yes.
When I say unleashed, I mean like full unleashing of new stuff.
Yeah, I think
it seems a little bit restricted because of the costs, because of some of the cloud costs, and getting hands-on gear has been a kind of a constraint.
Well, I think Andrew Ng famously was talking about earlier this year. He had a viral moment where he said the cost of tokens has gone down by orders of magnitude even since a year ago. Jonathan always had this vision from when I first met him and we were discussing Groq, that he wanted anyone with a credit card to be able to create applications and get started building today. That wasn't the case 5 or 10 years ago. You had to provision for hundreds of thousands of dollars cloud compute. And today, someone can literally dive in and start building an application and bring it to market. So when we think about what Groq has done, you know, we stood up our cloud instance earlier this year and we gave everyone access for free just to see how they would build on it. And what's really happened in that unleashing, as you say, is people pushed it to the limit rapidly. And then they came back and said, we need more of this, we need more of that. So really the speed of iteration from them has been the speed of innovation for us.
Yeah, and it's good. You get to see what they're building because we want feedback.
Absolutely.
It's like product requirements.
Totally.
Yeah, you know, it sounds like, I mean, that was what made Amazon Web Services famous, was that put your credit card down and go. Yeah.
Right, and launch.
All right, so what's the coolest thing you're seeing so far? If you had to kind of like lay your top 3 coolest things you've seen with some of the Groq, I won't say experiments, but like the freedom to play and build. What are some cool things?
Well, you
Mark?
know, the thing that I'm getting really excited about, and Scott Belsky from Adobe was actually recently talking about how we're moving into the control era. And I think the way that people are interfacing with their applications is changing dramatically. So watching people who a year ago were building a chat app that was simply type in, today you can actually have a voice and a conversational AI with a real-time conversation with data is so exciting.
Yeah,
and then we see some really abstract ones.
What's the weirdest thing you've seen?
Okay, so
cool, weird.
So this one. So we did a hackathon in San Antonio maybe a month ago. I was one of the judges there, and a student group actually built an app that allows you to find in your general area a date based upon recipe cards and workout programs. And you talk to your agent and you tell it what your favorite foods are, and it builds a recipe card and it builds a social profile. And if anyone in your area likes the same recipes and the same workouts, it will connect you and say, maybe you should get together and cook. And I thought, I don't know how that's going to work, but I love the
I do like it. I do like it. You know, I mean,
and it was fully powered by Groq, which was great.
Yeah, you know, you have a social network when there's dating and money making.
Yeah,
you know, so that's the sign of success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, the other exciting part is a lot of folks are scared of AI.
Yeah,
right. There's a lot of intimidation about what it's going to do, what it's going to take away from people. But I think it's important to notice that you're having really great advancements in drug discovery, cancer screenings, language services that all require this level of real-time inference. And because of that, I just think it's a really exciting future for everyone.
So I got to ask you, if you had to look at the human in the loop piece, because I think, I was talking to someone about the, regulating tech, and, our CUBE pod on every Friday that Dave and I do plug for the CUBE pod. Check it out every Friday. Dave and I could riff and share. We are so like anti-regulation. Let tech flourish. And so there's all this talk, certainly outside Silicon Valley around, the DC politics. Certainly politics is coming into the tech scene. And I said to this big impact investor, I gave a talk, and I'm like, you want to make a change the consumer behavior. Because the companies will respond to that.
Sure.
Rather than trying to put handcuffs on people.
That's right.
Change the user behavior, enable the developers to build the cool apps. That's I wouldn't say weird, that's a kind of innovative idea. Absolutely. Dating based upon preferences.
Sure.
I mean, concept that makes sense.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of energy to do that. That's a recommendation engine, basically.
Yeah.
Why not change the consumer behavior? Because if you focus your energy on regulating, the innovation could get stalled in a critical period. Let chaos reign, and then reign in the chaos, as Andy Grove used to say.
Yeah.
And so what's your thoughts on that? Because we're in this human era where if AGI is coming down the pike, and we can debate when or where, if, when that happens, it's software driven for sure, but where's the human element, right? The human element is your heart, your mind.
Right.
What's your thoughts on this?
I think this goes back to the value of the open source community, right? Because an open source community doesn't work for one logo and doesn't represent one company.
Yeah.
So what happens is you've got a shared trust of mind of what is the right way to use technology being built by people that best understand the technology. Because of those voices, like you said, the user behavior, you see companies like Meta AI and their team that recently released Llama Guard as a part of this open source model, which puts some safety in place for these systems. But that's heavily influenced by the open source community and what they believe as policy should be integrated into the technology.
Mark, great to have you on theCUBE. Certainly, I'd love to do more videos with you guys. I know you're super busy spreading the word and also implementing some of those requirements that you're getting from the open source community developers, as well as feedback from builders. Final question for you, kind of more of a thought exercise as we think about the future. What does it mean to you to preserve your humanity in a digital age?
Well, I think if anyone's seen my LinkedIn profile, my mission statement is to keep the heart of humanity in the soul of AI. And
explain.
So for me, I think there's two ways of looking at AI right now. And a lot of people are talking about how it replaces humanity. I actually believe, like all advancements in technology, this becomes a tool to extend on human capability and human agency. Actually, I have a paper about this on the Groq blog called Human Plus. And ultimately, we need to be asking the tools and the makers of the tools, what would make our lives better? So again, we hear people right now talking about, how AI can write poetry, but we don't want to replace the humans that write poetry. That's a beautiful part of humanity.
Yeah.
What we do want is it to work faster in our spreadsheets so that we don't have to do that.
Okay. So you write more poetry.
Yeah, we want it to do our tasks for us, right? We want it to do the monotonous tasks.
Yes.
And that has been true all the way back to Henry Ford working on the factory line. And so we just need to really make sure that humans are speaking to what they want AI to do for them.
Yeah, heart and mind in the software.
Absolutely.
Some data input.
Yes.
I mean, if we're using synthetic data to fill the gap from corpus of current data, how's the new data coming in? What is that data? So it's a really good point. I really appreciate your opinion, because something that we're really going to ask a lot of questions around and start thinking about is, as we move into software and taking more inputs,
right?
What is the humanity angle? Certainly technology works for us.
Yes.
Not the other way around.
That's the way it should work.
So thanks so much for coming on theCUBE.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much for having us.
We got Groq inside theCUBE. We are here at the NYSE for Media Week. We'll be up and running full time starting in January, February timeframe as our studio gets continually built out here. This is theCUBE Action. I'm John Furrier, your host. Thanks for watching.